In Forbidden Planet, we see the exterior of the C57D, and we see the interior of the C57D. But then, we see the cruiser on the surface of Altair 4. We see men standing outside. From this, we can estimate the size of the cruiser. But does the interior fit inside the exterior? In 1956, the exterior set of the C57D was reportedly a 60-foot or 18.2 metre semicircular structure, so perhaps we have a starting point. We also have images such as this to gauge the cruiser's dimensions. We can see that the upper dome is 1/3 the diameter of the saucer, or about 20 feet, 6 metres. As the brim of the saucer is not very thick, we can suppose the interiors we get to see must fit into the upper dome, or at least be partly sunken into the main body of the saucer. In this video, we will tour the interior of space cruiser C57D and consider if it all fits. And if you like this video, press the like button, share it on social media, and subscribe to this channel. If you do not like this video, then press the dislike button, share it on social media, and subscribe to this channel anyway. The central space is circular and on 2 levels. In the center is the flight control console. Running around this central space are 4 rooms. Our first is where we find both the communications station and the view plate. There is also a chart table. It is both this space and the central navigation space that constitute the most important staging areas for the film inside the cruiser. If the communications and chart room space is at 5 o'clock, then at 7 o'clock we find the cruise berth. There is a heavy-duty hatch and a crane. And there are 16 bunks. 16, which is odd as there are 19 men in the cruiser's company. There are 3 officers, so we must suppose the commander, the executive officer, and the medical officer have their own cabins. At 9 o'clock, there is a space for the deceleration pads. These pads are rather like the inertial dampeners on the Enterprise D. There are only 9 pads. So what happens to the 10 other crew members who do not have pads? Are they somewhere else, or does the way in which they are shot imply more pads behind the camera? At 12 o'clock, there is the crew's mess. This space is in the background of those scenes inside the cruiser. What we see are a table with chairs, a long settee, bookshelves, and 3 view scopes. At 2 o'clock, we have these intriguing corrugated windows and a door, suggesting other rooms requiring a degree of privacy. We are not shown what lies beyond the door. Perhaps this is where the officers sleep. A final space to note is the upper deck. We do not see much of it, and I have deliberately kept the instrument panels vague. The deck is accessed by small one-man lifts. No obvious steps. These curious walls to left and right may or may not be doors. Hold on, there is one other internal space we see. There is a space at the top of the gangway. There is clearly a doorway, and we know that the heavy-duty hatch is accessible from this space. There are 6 doors leading from the central room. There are 2 doors leading from the crew's mess, and the door accessing the space behind the corrugated walls. The other 3 doors are not so obvious. There are 2 doors leading from the de-accelerator room, and another between that room and the crew's berth. This latter might lead down to a lower deck, down to the gangway. what might we expect these doors to lead to? We should expect a galley and a sickbay. There would also be a workshop somewhere, unless the communications bay doubles for one. The brim of the saucer could contain life support systems, fresh water tanks, food stores, the tractor and other fun toys to be assembled after planetfall, sanitation, and electrical power distribution systems. Without external hatches, the crew would have to be able to access ship's systems from inside, and they would have to access the engines whilst in outer space. And on the subject of the engines, the pedestal, which apparently contains part of the power and propulsion systems, retracts into the hull, so there would have to be space for it as well. And as the cruiser lands upon this pedestal, it would have to be strong enough to support the weight of the cruiser. The central space has a diameter of about 21 feet, 6.4 meters, and the distance from the central navigational console to the furthest bulkhead of the bunk space is 31 feet, 9.4 meters. Our total diameter for what we see of the cruiser's interior, therefore, is 62 feet, 18.8 meters. If all this is inside the upper dome, then the C57D must be 186 feet in diameter, or 56.6 meters, considerably more than the 60 feet of the exterior set in its studio. This obviously contradicts our estimate of the exterior dimensions. It is bigger on the inside than on the outside, but if you've watched enough of the videos on this channel, this TARDIS-like quality will not be a surprise. We can suppose a full-size set in the studio would have been even more expensive. But then, does this really affect our enjoyment of Forbidden Planet? I think not.